Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at file handling in Python. So what does file handling mean? It simply means reading and writing files from our Python code. So we're going to create a new file. We're just going to call it files.py. And in here we're going to be introduced to a new function called open. We've been using the print function a lot, so this is just another built-in function which is called open. The open function, as its name says, it's going to open our files. So we're going to have open, and in parentheses we're going to have first the name of the file we want to open. In this case we're just going to call it hello.txt, and next we're going to put in a letter that's going to represent how we want to open this file. There are three options, which are: the first one is A, which stands for append. Then there's R, which stands for read. And there's W, which stands for write, which each of them have their own application. In this case, since we don't have a hello.txt file, we want to create it, we're going to open it in write mode. So what the difference between write and append is that when we're using write, we're going to override everything that's already on the file if there's already some text. When we're using append, we're going to add it to the end of our file. So in this case, since we don't have any file, we're just going to use the W. And we want to save this into a variable since we want to manipulate and see what we can do with this file. So we're just going to save it in a variable called file. And as we've seen before, when we want to know what we can do with a variable, we use the dot operator. So we're going to say file dot, and we see different options. In this case, we want to write to the text file. So we're going to have write, and we're going to put in hello Ethiopia. And once we're done using our file, this is a very important step. We need to close our file. This is because when we create a file variable, it creates an object which takes up our laptops or our computer's resources. So we need to set those resources free. Python by itself does this for you, but it's a good practice to close the file. So we're going to do file.close, which is going to close our file. Now we can save our file and run it. And as we run it, you see there's nothing in the terminal because we're not printing anything. But if you look to the left, you can see a new file created, which is hello.txt. And if we open it, as you can see, we have written hello Ethiopia. So this is how you write to a file. Let's say we wanted to add something else. Let's say we want to add hello Kenya, for example, and we want it to be on a new line. If we just ran this, it would be right next to hello Ethiopia, but we want it on a new line. So we're going to use a new line character, which is simply a backslash followed by n. This just represents a new line. So it just means enter, just equivalent to pressing enter. And now we're going to save our file and run it. And nothing happens in the terminal. If we open our hello.txt file, as you can see, hello Ethiopia is gone. But we still have hello Kenya and the new line, but this is not what we wanted to happen. We wanted hello Ethiopia to also be there. This is because we're using the W extension. So here, since we use W, it's going to overwrite everything. When we want to add something, we need to use the A tag. That means append. So it's going to append whatever we write to the end of the file. So we're going to use append, and we're going to write hello Ethiopia, and we're going to save our file and we're going to run it. And now if we go to hello.txt, as you can see, hello Ethiopia has been appended. So this is what you can do with the append and the write tag. Now let's look at the read tag. So let's change A to R, and we're going to do file.read. File.read is simply going to read the whole file. So let's just say we wanted to see what the file is. So we're going to print file.read, and we're going to save our file and we're going to run it. As you can see, it prints out everything that's in the file. Another thing we can do is run file.readLine, which is going to read out a single line, or we can do file.readLines, which is going to read out all the lines, but it's going to store them in a list, which is very important, which we will be using in an exercise right now. So our exercise is going to be to get the sum of numbers that are in a text file. So we're going to go back to our hello.txt file, and we're going to remove all this, and we're going to put in numbers. We're going to have 10, 20, 30, and 40. So we want to find the sum of these numbers, which is going to be 100. So we're going to save this file, and we're going to go back to our Python file. And what we need to change here is we're going to get rid of our print statement. We want to open our file in the read tag, so we do not need to change that. So what we need to do is we need to loop over each line of our file, and we need to convert the numbers, which are going to obviously be in a string. We need to convert them into a number, or we need to convert them into an integer. Then we need to add them. So first we need to read from the file. So we're going to do file.readLines, which is going to store each line in a list. We can print it out and see what happens. So we're going to store it in a variable called numbers, and let's just print numbers and see what we get. We're going to save it and run it. As you can see, we get the numbers, but we also get another character next to each number. That is the new line character. That is because in our hello.txt file, as you can see, each number is on a new line. So that's why there's the new line character. So if we were to loop over this, so let's say we had a for loop. So we're going to say for number in numbers. We wanted to print out each number. And let's see what happens. We're going to save it and run it. As you can see, there's this extra space that we do not want. That is because there's two new line characters, one from the for loop itself and another that we have in the file. So we want to get rid of one of them. And now we're going to get introduced to a new action or a new method. So we're going to go to number, and we're going to put in dot, and we're going to use the strip method. What the strip method just does is it's going to remove extra space. So it's going to just remove the extra space we have here, and we can save our file and run it. And now it's gone back to a familiar form that we've seen when we run for loops. So this is good. This is the first step. But again, these numbers are strings. They're not integers. So what we need to do is cast them to integers. So we're going to cast them into an integer. And we do not just want to print them, we want to find their sum. So what we need to do is create a sum variable, and we're going to set it initially to 0. And we want to add each number to the sum. So instead of the print statement, we're going to add each number to the sum, which is going to be a weird syntax if you've not seen it before. It's going to be sum plus equals int number dot strip. What this means is it's going to add each number to sum. It just means if we expanded this, it would be sum is going to be equal to sum plus each number. So each iteration, a new number gets assigned to the number variable, and it's going to be added to our sum. And once we've done this, we can see if it works, and we're going to print sum, and we're going to save our file, and we're going to run it. As you can see, it prints out 100. That means it works. So this is all about the basics of file handling in Python. Thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more daily programming videos.